Hello everybody, we're back to our electric toothbrush project, or should I say the battery conversion project. So the concept with this, the idea, the design goal is to take one of these I shouldn't say rechargeable, battery powered electric toothbrushes, and this one in particular runs on a single AA battery, and modify it so that we could have a different switching mechanism inside. So instead of having to press this button, there could be like a reed switch inside, which is magnetic, or some other switch. So the big problem is space and size. This closes up and it's all waterproof, so we don't have to worry about that, but we have to be able to put other bits of electronics inside here. So the original one we were talking about was making a converter that would convert the size of a AA. Here's a AA here, and instead use a AAA battery. And instead, it's the same voltage. It has less amp hours, so it's going to last not as long. But all things considered, it gives us more space. The diameter is slightly smaller, and the height is slightly smaller. So I played around with this, played around with this, played around with this, and really what I found was that I originally thought the diameter would be a problem, but it's the height that's more of the problem. And then we looked at different reed switches and whatnot, and so I said, well, let's try a quadruple A battery. And yes, there are quadruple A batteries out there, even from Amazon Basics. So this is a quadruple A battery, and compared to there's a triple A on the left. This is a quad on the right, so it's shorter and it's smaller diameter. I don't have my cheat sheet with me, but I think these are 10 millimeters in diameter versus a double A, which is 14, I want to say. So here's a quadruple A next to a double A, so it's smaller. So I've been playing around with that size, and to give myself more space in the back for a reed switch, there's a cutout in the back where there's going to be a plastic covered reed switch. So I have space in here now. In order to best utilize that space, though, the battery needs to be not centered when it's inserted. See here, it's centered. It needs to be shifted forward or shifted towards the opening. Well, one of the problems, since I'm using the positive pole in an existing manner, is that if this is shifted forward, it's probably not going to make contact within the toothbrush itself. So that's a problem. So with that, I went to my normal box of tricks, and I thought to myself, one thing I've used in the past are Chicago screws. These are Chicago screws. They're available in a variety of different lengths. You can get an assortment length like this, and there's two parts to them. One is the shaft with the top, and then you have this little screw that goes into here, and actually you could use a longer screw if you want, but it comes with a set like that, so it's kind of matching like that. The Chicago screws are helpful for a number of instances. One, it's got a nice flat, smooth surface. So I've used these as touch points for devices so that you can pick up that capacitive touch, and it's got kind of a nice polished look to it. So that's one way I've been misusing it. Another way is I've used these as axles because fortunately Chicago screws are 5 millimeters in diameter. So they will fit inside a bearing that has a 5 millimeter ID, which is handy. Keep that in mind for future projects. Well, so I thought about that, and I thought, oh, it's got a nice big face, and the size of this is about the same size as a terminal on a battery. They're pretty close in size, as you could see. So here's another misuse. I took the smallest Chicago screw I have on hand, which is this little one, which I think is about 4 or 5 millimeters tall. And I said to myself, well, let me do a case and let me set it up so that, and this is going to be fiddly, it's probably not going to go in here while I'm doing the video. But the idea is that it would be placed in there, giving a large surface to capture the end of the AAA battery, but at the center it would still have what the toothbrush is expecting. So I was going along that route. I thought, oh, I'm so clever. But as I start to put this together, start to do that, I'm really running out of space along the length, especially since this is supposed to be something that a maker DIYer can do, where they can buy parts off of Amazon or a hardware store and make their own. And it's just, we're cutting it so close that it's going to be really hard to put pads and everything in here. You know, as you can see in these earlier designs, there's 2 slots here, one for the battery, and then the switch goes between these 2. So the diameter is less of a problem. It's more of a problem of the height. So I thought to myself, well, let's think about a different battery again. And what came to mind, it had come to mind earlier, is something like an A23. This is commonly used in alarm systems and some remote controls. It used to be used in garage door openers a lot, cameras too. Problem is, this is 12 volts, and we don't want to do any sort of voltage conversion. So I knew that that wasn't going to work, but I like the idea of the height. It's much shorter, right? So I have more places to play with. So that's where the N cell battery came about. Now the N cell, I don't have one here, but the N cell looks very much the same height as an A23 battery, except it has more of the diameter of a AA. It's 14 millimeters, maybe a little bit less than 14, I think. So the diameter is chubbier than this one, but it's shorter. So I have on order a pack of those, and they're relatively inexpensive, and they are available like on Amazon, so it's not super esoteric. That's another thing. We want to make the batteries easy to source. And so what I'm hoping to be able to do is that battery will kind of fit into that space, leaving me a whole nice amount of space at the bottom to put my tab connectors and to hook in the reed switch and have all that wiring, so it's not quite so fiddly. So it's kind of going to be a middle ground. It's actually going to be fatter, but have more height. So hopefully that'll work. Those batteries should be in tomorrow, so I could mess around with the models in the next week or so and see what happens. So that's what's happening with battery land. I do want to make a couple of notes about this. The reason why we're using regular off-the-shelf batteries is because we didn't want to deal with anything rechargeable and the risks involved with that, and just the complexity where we can't make it as consumer friendly. We wanted something that's consumer friendly, and so as standard a battery as we can get. Now some of these are available and rechargeable, so you can get rechargeable versions of them. So that's the main reason we didn't, and we wanted to have it fit inside and just be a drop-in replacement for the existing battery. Again, we don't want to make any modifications to the toothbrush itself. We want something where a user could take our unit, put the battery in the unit, and then just put it right where they would put the normal battery. So that's one of the key design considerations and limitations we're putting on ourselves. So yeah, no rechargeables, and we really want to stick with this form factor because we want this to be easy for users to use. So there we are, another longish video about toothbrushes and batteries, but that is the life of an adapter.